Packers Texans, we are live here. This is the pre-snap. Hit it.
We 19. We 19. Hey, Rex. Yeah. We 19. Can't. Oscar. Turbos and Give me east, right, flop. B right, all the way outside. Y, left. Fake, 396 bag. B hand, C puck. Is that long enough for you? 319. Check New York Bozo.
Oh, man, it's Sunday, which means we're back for another edition of the pre-snap here on Game On Wisconsin. I'm Alex Strofe. We're going to talk some Packers and Texans for the next 45 or so minutes. Joining me, the founder of GameOnWisconsin.com, Jacob Westendorf. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to be here, man. It's another game day, and we have 11 more of these, so I cherish every single one of them. I'm just happy it's here. Last night, college football, my college football was back, so it was nice to see Michigan get a win over PJ Fleck and the sinking boat that is the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So I know that my friends that are Wisconsin fans appreciate watching Minnesota get their butt kicked. So
yeah,
that was fun, but it does. Yeah, you're welcome. Not that Wisconsin needs any help kicking Minnesota's ass, but it's nice to see that happen, and we're here, but nothing compares to Packers game day, so it's good to be here.
100%. But real quick on the Big Ten note, how about Rutgers, man? Holy smokes! Getting their first Big Ten win in years. Yeah,
I got to give credit to Michigan State. You know, a lot of good teams lose to Rutgers, so.
A lot of them do. You're right. That's a fact. So we are without our boy Jimmy Christensen, not with us this week. We'd like to take a moment of silence for our wonderful soldier who's a UFC fighter, not an MMA fighter, rather. Not quite to the UFC. But with Khabib retiring yesterday, maybe Jimmy will be taking his spot in as the champion of the UFC. But Jimmy without us today, so we'll move on without him. And a lot to get into. Obviously, the Packers coming off their first loss a week ago, and there's a lot to focus on, man. And the first thing I want to jump into, Jacob, is the injuries. David Bakhtiari out today. Aaron Jones out today. Kevin King out today. Our buddy Andy Herman put out a tweet last night. It was a really good point. This might be kind of our first look, if you will, of the 2021 Packers without those three guys.
Yeah, it could, and I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say it's not, because David Bakhtiari is going to be in Green Bay next season and beyond. But, I mean, crazier things have happened. It's possible that they could both get upset with each other and not reach a deal. That being said, I do think David Bakhtiari is a Packer next season. But you're right. It is a possible look at maybe the secondary without Kevin King and the backfield without Aaron Jones. Maybe Jamal Williams comes back on a shorter deal, all that sort of stuff. But it's an interesting look. I think this team still has more than enough talented players active. And, of course, they have number 12 active. That is enough to beat a bad Houston Texans team. Now, if they were playing a better team, I might feel a little more nervous. I still don't feel as good about this game as I did thinking all the guys were going to be active. But I do think that they have some horses and some people that are able to do enough good things. And this Texans team still – Packers fans are able to talk themselves into any team being able to beat them. This is Alex. We didn't do pre-snap when they played the Falcons, but going into that Falcons game, everybody was talking themselves into how the Atlanta Falcons, who were winless at the time, a defeated football team, could beat the Packers. And that game was never close. The final score doesn't even indicate how much of an ass whipping that was. That Packers team, they won by 14 points, but they kind of went into a shell in this. No, they went into a shell in the second half, and they got stuffed on the goal line on a 4th and 1. Otherwise, Green Bay dominated that game from wire to wire. I don't think they can do that, but I think they can win this game against a Houston team that just frankly doesn't have a ton of horses, but they do have Deshaun Watson. That makes things interesting.
Yeah, they have talent, right? I mean, they've got some pieces that are obviously, intriguing, right? Deshaun Watson, as you mentioned. Will Fuller on that offense has had a pretty solid year. Of course, they've got some of their horses on the defensive side of the ball as well. But I disagree with you, Jacob. I think this is a game that Green Bay can dominate wire to wire, even without some of their key pieces on both sides of the ball. Kevin King out on defense again this week. But I know who's going to be there to solve the issue. It's the guy on your brand new jersey, Jacob Westendorf. I think the swag daddy, Mr. number 30, Jamal Williams, he's going to have himself a day. I mean, the opportunity's there, man.
It is. And the Texans last week really struggled against the run. They gave up, granted, a lot of good run defensive struggle against Derrick Henry. The Titans have Derrick Henry. The Texans, I've done that all week.
Good job. Nice.
The Texans do not have a good run defense, and the opportunity is there for the Packers to pound the rock. I know a lot of people are saying, well, I'm ready to see A.J. Dillon. Jamal Williams is a more than capable player. He's a starting caliber player in the NFL. With all due respect to A.J. Dillon, you will see him today since Aaron Jones is inactive. But Jamal Williams is the better player. He's the more NFL-ready player right now. It's time for Jay Swagdaddy to do a little dancing in the end zone.
So Jamal Williams is one of those names we don't bring up, but he's also a free agent after this season. His rookie deal expires. So how are you viewing this, and how do you think, I guess maybe not to speak for him, but how do you think he views this, right? Is this almost a showcase of his talents for teams around the league? This is his first start as the running back of the Green Bay Packers in his career, and we don't know what that running back room is going to look like a year from now.
Well, Jamal is my best friend. And
yeah, that's true.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
no, that's
I'm
true.
Kidding,
no, you're not.
Yeah, I'm sure he views this as an opportunity, right? I mean, it's no different than Jamal Williams was, remember, the starting running back his rookie season, and then he lost that job, if you will, by injury when he hurt himself against the Bears on a Thursday night game. And then it ended up being Aaron Jones was starting for a while, and then Jones kind of ceded control of that job when he got injured. And they complement each other very well. I know that, you know, Williams obviously and Jones are friends. They talk about it on the show on Tuesday all the time. Well, Williams does. Jones has never come on the show, but Jamal talks about it all the time, how they're friends and they sit with each other on the plane and all that stuff. And it's not, I'm sure he feels bad that Jones is injured. I know he does, but it also is an opportunity for him. And yeah, eventually if he doesn't take care of himself, nobody else is going to. So I'm sure this is an opportunity for him to showcase, I'm not just a complimentary back. I can be a starting running back in the NFL and start for a team that has a high-powered offense. I can run the ball. I can catch passes. I really think you have an opportunity today I'm not saying Green Bay needs to build their game plan around him today, but they certainly have an opportunity to showcase his ability both as a runner and as a pass catcher, because again, this Texans defense, they don't stop a whole lot. But with the Packers having very little in terms of, well, I shouldn't say very little, but without Bakhtiari, the pass protection could be compromised. The easiest way to keep your quarterback protected is to get the ball out of his hands. One of the ways to do that, play that Tom Brady offense that we've all made fun of for years. Get the ball out of his hands, get the ball to the running backs, get the ball out to his receivers quickly. I think that you're going to see a heavy dose of number 30 in both the run and the passing game. I hope they got some IVs ready because my man might be exhausted after this game's over.
Yeah, he's going to be sore on Tuesday. And I know before every Jamal Williams show, he tells us how sore he is. It's going to be bad on Tuesday because we've talked plenty this season about the versatility of Jamal Williams. And it's been on full display in different games this year, right? We've talked about his improvement as a pass block or a rush blocker, rather. He can pick up linebackers, man. He's been doing it all year long. 2 games ago, he had 90-plus yards receiving. Last game against Tampa Bay, he was the team's leading rusher, although it was, not a big number by any means because we didn't run the ball very well at all.
They didn't do anything very well last week. So.
Yeah, nothing very well last week. He was still the leading rusher on the team, though. So the versatility is shown, and I think this is the week where he really gets to put it all together and play a full 60 minutes. Whereas, we talk about we want to see A.J. Dillon. We're finally going to see some expansion of A.J. Dillon. I don't think we're going to see as much A.J. Dillon as people expect. I think he'll be in the game plan. I think he'll be on the field, but I don't think he'll have more than 10 carries. I don't think, he's going to be looked at in the passing game as much as Jamal will. Jamal's going to come out to breathe for a play or two, and that's when A.J. Dillon will go in there. This is going to be the Jamal Williams game if there is one this season. So I think that is definitely the guy to look toward in this game against Houston. Houston 1-4, Green Bay 4-1. The Packers coming off of their first loss against Tampa Bay a week ago, and trying to rebound. And I assume they will. Let's talk about some of those struggles last week, Jacob. Go on a 10-0 run to open the game and then allow 38 unanswered. That's not a good game. No. And we can leave it in the rear view at this point. But how do you come back from something like that? I mean, that is just, we can use the word embarrassing because it really is what happened last week.
Yeah, you've heard the players to a man, and it's something I said this week is you can always tell when a team is close-knit and a team has like the same messaging is when you can tell what the coaches are preaching to, because Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, all these players in their Zoom meetings and shows and media availabilities, we're talking about putting the game in the rearview mirror and going 1-0 this week and moving on from the Tampa game. And you can't let one loss turn into two and all those phrases that they use. Now, granted, that doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot if they go out today and put up another stink bomb. That being said, the Packers have never lost 2 games in a row under Matt LaFleur, and I don't expect that to continue, or I expect that to continue today. I don't expect them to lose again today. I think that they have the ability to move on from losses. They did it last year. Anytime they lost a game, they came back and won the following week, like I mentioned. And most of the time they rebounded relatively well. The only time that they didn't was off of a 10-day mini bye. They lost to San Francisco. They came back a few days later and they had kind of a meh showing against Washington, and they won the game. Good for them, but it wasn't the greatest showing, if you will. They just kind of won the game. They showed up, they played, and they won. Like, cool. That's kind of what you're hoping for today, right? I mean,
right.
I don't really care about style points today. I don't care what it looks like. Get out of Houston with a win. Is it 52-40? Cool. Is it 3-0? That's fine too. I don't really care.
No, it's not.
It probably won't be 3-0. Like, I mean,
all right. Odds are, yeah. I imagine Aaron Rodgers will put up at least a touchdown. I think we can probably bet on that. But I think you're right. I mean, you want to win. If it's ugly, though, I don't think, I let it go, right? It's early. We need to see how they respond to adversity. You mentioned, right, last year after the bye, they lost to San Francisco. Then they barely beat Washington. Ugly showing. However, it was an ugly showing, but that was the beginning of a 5-game, well, really 6-game win streak, okay, if you count that Seattle playoff victory. They won their last 5 after the loss after the bye last year. Mm-hmm. I imagine they're ready to go on a roll again, man. They open the season with 4 straight. They fall. But this is not a team that just wants to win the division. This isn't a team that just wants a wild card spot. This is a team that thinks they are the best in the NFC, and they got embarrassed last week. So I don't think Matt LaFleur is looking to come out here and have a Washington-like game from last year. Matt LaFleur's team is going to come out here, even without some of their key pieces, and they are going to want to smack Houston in the mouth, more than they already have without a GM and head coach. But we'll see what happens. I like Green Bay's chances, man. They're favored by 6, and I think they're only favored by 3.5. And I think they'll easily be able to cover.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I wouldn't pick them to cover. I never try to bet. I would never bet a road favorite. It's something that my good friend Matt Bove, Team Degenerate, has taught me in my ways of trying to learn the ways of gambling. Is road favorites are something you try and avoid as much as you can, just because that's the way things work. Whatever that is, whether Vegas has their magic little fingers on the pulse, whatever you want to look at it is, it's just something I would try and avoid. I don't know if they'll cover, but I do like their chances to win. I like their chances to play well. And I know they're missing some of their guys. I do think it's kind of funny how when all the guys are healthy, right, we talk about, oh man, Kevin King sucks. Oh man, Darnell Savage is terrible. And now that those guys aren't playing, it's, oh man, they have no chance without those guys. How in the world are they going to win without those guys? It's just kind of funny how that works, how 2 quote unquote bad players aren't playing, and now all of a sudden Green Bay can't win. I don't agree with that. Now I think Houston was going to put up points even if those guys did play. They have weapons on that side of the ball. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb. You mentioned their names. Kenny Stills is another one. The Packers have some matchup problems for Houston on that side, or Houston has some matchup problems for the Packers, I guess is the way to say it, on that side of the ball. That being said, Green Bay can match up on some of those things well. I think it starts with this offensive line struggles to protect Deshaun Watson. Laramie Tunsil's been great. Outside of him, not a whole lot going on up front. This Packers pass rush, if there's a day to get right, today's that day, guys. Zadarius, Preston, Rashawn, Kenny Clark, you guys, it's time to roll, because for as much as we've talked about Mike Pettin and everything on the defensive coaching side of things, and there is some to be desired there. What's up, Nate? As much as there is to be desired there, the Packers, their players need to win their one-on-ones. Yeah. That's what this comes down to. There's a lot that gets masked if players start winning their one-on-ones and just making some plays. And the Packers defense, they're simply not making enough plays. And that's where this really starts. Is you can talk to me all you want about if Buddy Ryan, or name your greatest defensive coach ever, could be the defensive coach. Yeah, it would change a few things. But if Preston Smith is getting blocked by tight ends, and if Zadarius Smith is disappearing for stretches of games, and Rashawn Gary still looks like a raw prospect through parts of the game, and cornerbacks are getting beat on, some simple-ish plays, it's really not going to matter who your defensive coordinator is. Players win games. Coaches, yeah, there are some things they can do. But those 4 guys I just mentioned, those 3 pass rushers and Kenny Clark, you better get after Deshaun Watson today.
Yeah, getting after the quarterback will be a key to success, obviously, with 2 of your starting defensive backs out of this one. I want to pose the question, one more thing on injuries, right? I think David Bakhtiari is the easy answer here, so let's disclude him. But who is the biggest loss this week, in your opinion, before we head into Houston?
Oh, that's a good one. Because from a positional value standpoint, right, it's not that high. But Aaron Jones, they build their offense around him, right? I mean, There's so many things they do with him. He's an explosive player. And we talked about this on Pulse yesterday. We talked about this on Pack-A-Day, which came out this morning. Aaron Jones, you come into the game assuming Devontae Adams is number 1. Aaron Jones might be your number 2 option in the passing game with Allen Lazard sidelined. So now you're looking at who's going to be that second guy to step up and make some plays in the passing game. Maybe it's Aaron Jones, maybe it's normally Aaron Jones on a normal day. It's not going to be Aaron Jones today. That's an interesting question. It's an interesting point. And now, like you mentioned, I know we're all talking about A.J. Dillon. This isn't Madden, guys. You can't just plug somebody into the backfield and say, away we go. Like, it's not that simple. And Aaron Rodgers kind of alluded to that this week he said he was proud of the things A.J. did, but it was more of a product of the score. I think they've kind of told you why A.J. Dillon's not playing without basically saying he's not necessarily ready. Now, he has an opportunity today to show that maybe he was ready and that there are some guys in that organization that are wrong, but it wasn't as simple as just put him in the backfield and see what he can do. Like, it doesn't work that way. And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that and think it's just as simple as put 28 in the backfield and tell him to run left.
And away we go. Right.
Right. It's just not that simple. Like, there are so many things going on a given play that they have to know everything. And A.J. Dillon, I'm hopeful for him today. Like you said, if he gets 10 to 12 carries, that's cool. But I think they're going to miss Aaron Jones, not just because of his playmaking ability, but just because of the drop off. Obviously, I mean, the drop off on the other side is Josh Jackson and maybe Will Redmond, Vernon Scott, whoever it is that's playing those positions. But I think you can mask that and try and hide that a little bit more than you can somebody. They don't build their defense around those players.
That's fair.
They build their offense around somebody like Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And I was gonna jump on the Kevin King part because I think it showed last week that the Packers missed Kevin King, and I think we don't stress his importance enough on the defensive side of the ball. Although Houston is 1-5, they've got a pretty solid offense. We talked about some of those characters on there, but Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb. I mean, these aren't scrubs. Kenny Stills in that wide receiving core. These aren't scrubs by any mean. I mean, these are better receivers than the Packers are really throwing out there on a weekly basis outside of Tay, obviously. So it's going to make for some interesting matchups defensively, and Houston might score some points on this Packers defense if, as you mentioned earlier, as you alluded to earlier, if that Packers pass rush doesn't get to Deshaun Watson and gives them too much time, things could get ugly. And, I have high hopes. I think the Packers win this game, like I said, and pretty handedly, and we'll get to predictions later. But this does make me a little nervous with both now Savage and already Kevin King out today. I want to get to a comment in the chat, Jacob. Sticky Nicky 05 wants to bet you a hat from the pro shop. He's saying Houston wins.
Yeah, that is Nick Scheib, and he has picked the Packers to lose every single game this season. So I asked him yesterday, at what point are you just wrong? So, Nick, I will take it. I am picking Green Bay to win, and I will take that bet. So, Monday morning, tomorrow, I will send you my shipping address, and I will tell you which hat I want. So, yeah, take it. It is the bet. Screenshot it, write it, whatever you guys want to do. This is saved forever and ever, so I will make sure that everybody knows. But this is in lore. You guys know now, so take it.
Yes, I like that. We've got the gambling man on our side. It's like Kenny Rogers reincarnated with me here on the pre-snap. I love
it.
R.I.P.
My mom loves Kenny Rogers, man. That was like her first crush or something like that when she was a teenager.
You gotta know when
to hold. Yeah. Right, so, yeah, we're not going to sing on this show because I was already getting made fun of for that because I can't sing. So
That's fair enough, man. Fair enough. All right, let's dive back into this. What should we talk about? X factors, maybe. I know we talked a lot about Jamal Williams. Who else? Who else do you think steps up today?
I dig it. We were talking about who could be this potential second pass catcher, right? So I was talking about this earlier in the week, and I don't know if we necessarily disagreed, but we talked a little bit on how the Packers could be looking for a second pass catcher if Robert Tonyan like Funyun, was not able to play this week. And that's thrown me for a loop all weekend. I had it right.
I haven't even tried it yet.
I had it right all week. And then last night I was doing Pack-A-Day with Gage and Jen Mackey. And I said Tonyan, like one of the last times I said his name. I was like, oh my God, it took me all week to get to that point. But if Robert Tonyan couldn't go, and he is active, it's a wonder of if he'll be limited or not. But somebody I said, of who could be that second pass catcher? Because obviously Davante Adams is going to be number one. You're going to have to, at some point, you can't just throw the ball to the running back 25 times. As much as we would like that to be a possibility, I don't think that is going to happen. Somebody that I pointed out could be a possibility as a big opportunity. I didn't say he was going to do it, but an opportunity could be for Jay Sternberger in the cards. It's somebody they clearly really liked. He just hasn't had that game yet this season. He obviously struggled against Detroit early in the year, had a couple drops. He had a nice game the following week against New Orleans, and he's been relatively quiet since then. And the Packers have Robert Tonyan has obviously stepped up. He's been the team's go-to at tight end early in the season here. He had the 3 touchdowns against Atlanta. He scored, I think, 5 on the season. He's equaled like Jimmy Graham's total or something like that in just the first 5 games this season.
That was ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. So Big Bob is certainly somebody that could, but if he's limited a little bit, I think you could see an opportunity for Jay Sternberger to have a potentially impactful day on the field. But I do think, again, you're going to have to spread the ball around a little bit. It might be one of those days like Green Bay had in Houston where Davante Adams has like 15 catches and the rest of the guys have 4, 3, 1, 5, something like that. And they've kind of spread it around that way. But I think the Packers have a good opportunity here, and Sternberger specifically, if Tonyan is limited at all, has that possibility to at least have the targets go his direction.
Well, of course, it's a fair point, man. We've talked a lot about Sternberger the last, 3 months. I mean, especially during preseason, and he's just been underwhelming through 5 games. So maybe this is finally the game where he breaks out, but it's interesting to see because he's had a lot of hype for not a lot of production around him, has Jay Sternberger since the Packers have drafted him. So we'll see. Equanimous St. Brown's, my guy, man. I'm not backing off that bandwagon. I think maybe today is the day that he gets in the end zone. But yeah, they're going to need a pass catcher. And while Jamal Williams will probably show some flashes, have a couple targets out of the backfield, he's not going to be wide receiver 2. It's just not how it's going to work out. So I hope Equanimous can step up. Of course, MVS will get his looks. He'll get his opportunities like he does each week with A-Rod looking his way. It's going to be interesting to see if there is actually a real second option that sticks out like a sore thumb for Rodgers, right? Like Allen Lazard has for the last year. And, Davante's number 1. Who's that number 2 guy? I don't know if we'll find that out today. And I think it'll be crucial to the success of the Packers offense getting into the end zone. They can really establish a second option at wide receiver. All right.
Can we put some respect on Allen Lazard's name now too? Obviously, This is somebody who has been a productive player for Green Bay. I know that a lot of people, myself included, wanted the Packers to draft a receiver. Allen Lazard not being around has obviously amplified some of those concerns the last several weeks. Losing last week gave those people a chance to come out of the woodworks. That being said, Allen Lazard is a very good player for this team. I'm not saying he can be, a number 1 on some teams, but he is a good player. He's a productive player. This guy, here's a guy, to use Chris Collinsworth's lingo, that can be a productive player for Green Bay down the stretch of the season, and somebody that I think gives them, if Green Bay's offense is at full strength, Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, Robert Tonyan, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, they have enough pieces on offense, I think, to be able to win a Super Bowl. It's the defense, I think, if Green Bay doesn't win a championship this season, I don't think the offense is going to be the reason why.
Are they ever, it seems, in the Aaron Rodgers tenure, Jacob?
Yes, there have been games where Aaron Rodgers, last year's NFC Championship game is a very good example of, yes, I know the defense deservedly gets all of the attention. That being said, Aaron Rodgers did not play well through the first 2.5 quarters of that game. And if Aaron Rodgers' name was Kirk Cousins, the conversation around that from Packers fans would have been Aaron Rodgers put up points in garbage time. But since it was Aaron Rodgers, we talk about it as, oh, we kind of made some excuses for him. Now, I'm not saying Rodgers is number one to blame because he's not. When you only make the opposing quarterback drop back 8 times because he doesn't have to, that's a problem. That being said, there have been some playoff games where the defense has stunk. Understandable. But Aaron Rodgers, if he plays better, the Seattle game in 2014 is another example where Rodgers had a couple plays where you're just like, oh my gosh, if he had just played better, one of 835 things that could have gone better in that game. There are games that the offense did not, the second San Francisco game, the Freezer Bowl in Green Bay. If the offense plays better, Green Bay wins. So there have been examples of that, but overall, yes, you're right. More often than not, it is the defense.
Yeah, and it continues to be the case, at least so far this year. So, yeah, we'll see how Deshaun Watson, if he can cut through this defense like a knife without the aforementioned Kevin King and Darnell Savage, or if the Packers finally get to the quarterback. You know, obviously with Kenny Clark back healthy now and Rashawn Gary back in the mix and Za'Darius and Preston Smith. Well, Za'Darius has had a pretty solid season, but Preston, haven't heard a lot from him, at least from the rushing side of things. So hopefully he can step up against Houston today. You know, when we see Randall Cobb today on the television, I'm probably going to cry. I just want to get that out of the way right now because him and Rodgers is the best bromance of all time. All right, let's go around the NFC North. Let's take a look at the other games going on with the teams in the division, and we will then make some picks after that. So the Vikings on bye this week. So if you have Dalvin Cook in any of your fantasy leagues, I'm sorry.
I just traded for him.
Who'd you trade away?
Essentially it was DK Metcalf.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I have a lot of depth at receiver. So I had Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. And
you like your NFC receivers, yeah.
I like the idea of being able to start when they're all healthy, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and Dalvin Cook every week.
I like that idea too, because those are like 3 of the top 10 backs. That's insane.
Right. So, I mean, even if I can just pick between Allen Robinson, I'll start him every week and then pick between Thielen and Deebo. I feel pretty good about that. If I can just figure out something at the tight end position, I think I've had a different starting tight end every week. This week, I'm going with Robert Tonyan. You've got like 6 NFC North starters in your lineup, but anyway. It just worked out that way.
Let's go to last place. Well, actually, third place in the NFC North. The last place is on bye. Third place in the NFC North is the Detroit Lions. They're 2-3, 2-1 on the road. They go to Atlanta today to take on the 1-5 Falcons, who, by the way, beat the Vikings by 17 points last week. Not sick of bringing that up yet. Lions, Falcons. Actually, I think this could be a pretty entertaining football game for 2 pretty crappy teams.
Yeah, sometimes you get the fun bad, right, out of the 2 teams here. So Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan, 2 good quarterbacks. It's one of those, it's 2 teams that maybe shouldn't be as bad as they are. Detroit's coming off of a win. They have a chance to potentially get back into some, maybe not playoff contention, but into position. I don't know. They have everybody in the league makes the playoffs now since they expanded the postseason again, like they're doing in every sport, which, by the way, I'm anti in every single sport. I think they should have fewer playoff teams, but that's my opinion.
That's fair.
Who cares what I think, right?
Not me.
I think the Falcons are still really bad. I think Detroit is not very good either. It's the who finds a way to lose the least bowl, right? Because between the Lions and the Falcons, you have like the battle of suck in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, and the battle of suck. I like that. You should put that on a T-shirt. The battle of suck in the 4th.
We could have made it a matchup, like one of those matchups, like the Super Bowl T-shirts that they make every year. But this one would have been for obviously this game.
This game, the battle of suck is this one. Yeah, this is the battle of suck, but it still should be a pretty entertaining game nonetheless. Monday night, the 5-1 division leading Bears head to Los Angeles and go to the Roomba Stadium, the Roomba Vacuum Stadium, to take on the 4-2 Los Angeles Rams. This has the making of a really, really good one.
Yeah, it does. And the Bears defense, I think this is going to be one of those games where the final score might be like 13-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like both offenses will struggle against the opposing defenses. I don't know how the Bears block Aaron Donald. I don't know how anybody blocks Aaron Donald, but the Bears offensive line is not good. And then you add in, obviously, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL. Yeah. The Bears have continued to find ways to win, and I don't expect them to win tomorrow night, but I wouldn't be surprised if they would, because this Bears team, I said this last week, is every good Bears team from my lifetime. They have a really good returner, Cordero Patterson. They have a really good defense. They have offensive players that are interesting, like Allen Robinson and Cordero Patterson to some degree. David Montgomery's interesting in the passing game. Anthony Miller, the great Jimmy Graham. I'm joking, but they're held back by their quarterback play. And eventually I think that's what bites them in the postseason, if and when they get there, which how awesome would it be if Nick Foles is facing off against Carson Wentz in a playoff game?
That would be really fun. And Nick Foles would definitely win that game because the NFC East is an abomination and disrespectful to the rest of the National Football League.
I wouldn't be so sure.
What, that Chicago wouldn't be? Well, we did have the double doink last time those two teams
we had the double doink, and it seems like every time we have like this team doesn't even deserve to be in the playoffs. They make that game interesting, or two, outright win the damn thing, like Seattle did against New Orleans.
Yeah, when
that was one. Carolina, I think, had Carolina also played against John Skelton and like third string quarterback. So you can put like an asterisk, I guess, against that one. But you never know. And I am going to believe in Carson Wentz until I can't any longer. So I do. I really like Carson Wentz. I think he's a gamer. I think he's a playmaker. I think that he has some moments that I'm like, oh my God, why do I still believe in this guy? But I do. And I think that he has all the makings to be a franchise quarterback. He just hasn't put it all together since 2017 for some reason.
That is fair. Yeah, he went on that little MVP tear. Todd Varney bringing up a nice point in the chat. Is Jacob pulling for the Bears to make the playoffs?
Absolutely. I love watching their hearts get crushed.
That's fair. All right, let's jump into our locks and our upsets, and then we will get to our game prediction for Green Bay and Houston. Why don't you lead me off with your lock?
I think we both kind of went the cheap route, and we'll see that here in just a minute. But I am taking the Buffalo Bills because they're playing the New York Jets, and that feels like we should almost have a rule of you can only take one game against the Jets this year. But the Jets are the worst team in football. They're a defeated football team. I don't know if they're starting Joe Flacco or Sam Darnold. If the Jets start Darnold, they have like a minuscule chance. If they start Flacco, they have no chance. So, I mean, I'm just taking my odds there. Buffalo is one of the better teams in the AFC, and the Jets are the worst team in the NFL. And Jets, you have one job, and look at me when I say this. You have to make sure that Trevor Lawrence stays out of Minnesota. That is your job, your mission, should you choose to accept it.
I agree. They know they don't have an option to whether they can accept or decline. They're that bad. They will have the first pick. My lock, and yeah, I'm going the cheap route too. I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against I almost said it, Las Vegas Raiders. They're favored by 4 points. I think they cover. Trent Brown, obviously, out of this one. He tested positive for COVID. But I learned last hour that the Raiders' offensive line was cleared. I missed that in the news. I thought they all weren't going to play. But that is not the case. However, I still think Tampa Bay wins that one pretty handedly. We saw what they could do against Green Bay last week, and they're a good football team. Let's move to the upsets, and I will lead this one off. The Titans are favored by 1.5 points at home over the Steelers, and I think the Steelers debatably are the best team in the AFC. And again, debatably the best team in the AFC. But they look that way.
I'll give you a take, Alex.
Let's hear it.
Everybody thinks that the Ravens and the Chiefs are on a collision, the Ravens and the Chiefs are on a collision course for the AFC title game, right?
Yep.
The Steelers will eliminate one of those teams in the playoffs.
I think you're right. I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
upset.
That's my thought. Yeah, they have my upset. I have the New England Patriots beating the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Niners are riding high, and a lot of people are jumping back. They're still really injured. Bill Belichick is coming off a bad loss, and maybe I'm believing in him a little too much, but I still like Cam Newton's ability to do some things against that deep. And the 49ers are Jekyll and Hyde, man. I have no idea who they are, what they are. I know they had a great game last week against the Rams. It was a game they absolutely had to have. This is a game I think New England has to have. They're 2-3. They're in a division with Buffalo, who obviously has done well. Miami has had a couple of good games, and they're going with Tua Tagovailoa.
Whoever thought you were going to say that, right?
I know, no kidding, right? And then to do that and then bench your quarterback, it was all kind of interesting.
Wacky.
For the whole thing. Yeah, I feel for Fitzpatrick, but I also understand it at the same time.
I get it as well, right? It's their bye week. They're pulling the trigger at the right time, even though it doesn't seem like the right time. It's the best time to do it.
And it's their long term. Like a division title doesn't matter as much to this team as is Tua good, right? If Tua is not good, they want to know that as soon as possible. That's fair. Delaying that doesn't make any sense. But New England needs to win. there aren't a lot of games I've seen Bill Belichick coach that he's needed to win and he hasn't won. So I'm going to take Belichick over Kyle Shanahan and the fighting San Francisco 49ers as my upset for today.
I like that pick. That's a game I've stayed away from. I just don't know. I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch. It's just I don't know what the result's going to be, and that frustrates me a little bit. But I think that's a safe pick. Let's get to our game prediction for Green Bay at Houston. We are both 4-1 on the season. We have picked the Packers every week, and obviously they lost for the Packers predictions. You want to go first?
I will. Yeah, why not?
Sure. All right.
Rise and shine, baby. It's Jay Swag Daddy Day. It's going to be a good day. I am looking forward to Tuesday after Jamal gets in the end zone twice today. I can't wait for that. I look forward to a bounce back game from this offense. I think J.J. Watt gets his 100th sack of his career against the Packers because that just makes perfect sense for that to happen. Nonetheless, this Houston defense doesn't have the horses. Even if Green Bay doesn't have Aaron Jones and Allen Lazard, they do have enough, and they still have number 12. And this is the scene of the crime where 8 years ago, and I know that's a long time ago, Aaron Rodgers came into this game, into this stadium where nobody believed in this team. Nobody said they could beat a 5-0 Texans team that was dominant. This Packers team was coming off a horrendous loss and against the Indianapolis Colts at the time, for those of you that don't remember. What does Rodgers do? He throws 6 touchdown passes, smiles, and tells the camera to be quiet after the game was over. It was phenomenal. I don't expect quite that sort of performance because I think that's going to be tough. And this Packers team obviously doesn't have Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, and James Jones. That being said, like I've mentioned throughout this show, they have enough horses. Jamal Williams is a capable back. A.J. Dillon can do enough as a complimentary back. Robert Tonyan can make some plays as a tight end. Devontae Adams.
I can't get over it.
Well, one of these days, maybe we will. Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in all of football. They'll find somebody else to make enough plays for them. And it's Aaron Rodgers. And when in doubt, you can put your faith in number 12, and that guy gives you a shot to win every single week. I think they protect him well enough, and I think they can pound the rock, play a little old school today. I think Mason Crosby kicks a field goal as time expires. Green Bay wins 31-28.
Wow. Okay. A little too close for comfort.
I have made that Mason Crosby at the buzzer prediction one other time, and I have a text message to prove it. It was the Cowboys game in the playoffs, the Jared Cook game. And I said, somebody asked me, is Green Bay winning? I said, Money Mason at the buzzer, 34-31 Packers. Everybody go back and look at what the final score of that game was.
Wow. Jacob Westendorf, you psychic. I like that prediction. It's a little too close for comfort against a bad Houston team, but it's a win nonetheless. I also think Green Bay wins. I think 99% of people probably do, besides the dude in the chat who's going to buy you a hat from the Packers Pro Shop tomorrow. I think the Packers win. You know, I think 31's a good number. I like that. 31-17. I think it's not close. I think the defense, allows some points, 17 points, obviously, but still holds their own even without some key pieces. Offensive line, we didn't even talk about that. Who do you think starts at left tackle? Is there an announcement officially?
I have not seen, and I've been trying to pay attention to like who's talking in warmups or anything like that. And I have not seen anything that says who was starting at left tackle in warmups. So I think it's going to be Rick Wagner. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of those.
Listen, Jason Pierre-Paul has like 3 fingers on one hand, and he was moving Rick Wagner with ease last week.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's fair. It's one of those. I don't know if they have any good options, though. It's like when your left tackle is not playing.
It's tough.
I'm a firm believer there's no such thing as good tackle depth, right? And even if you think you have tackle depth, you really don't. Like, remember when the Packers drafted Jason Spriggs and they were like, okay, now they have Bakhtiari and Balaga, and if one of them goes down, they drafted a guy who they think should be pretty good. And it didn't happen. Jason Spriggs didn't pan out, whether it's karma or something like that. It's like against the law for a team to have 3 good tackles. And I can't see anything on Twitter or anything like that. And I'm looking through some of the beat writers just to see who is maybe lining up at left tackle, but I haven't seen anything as far as warmups as to who's playing where. And we've had that a couple different times. So we got lucky each of the first few weeks, but nothing as far as who's playing left tackle.
Wow. With 20 minutes until kickoff. That's exciting. I like that we're going to have no idea until we turn on the television. So 31-17 is my prediction. I think Rodgers finds Jamal Williams through the air for 1 touchdown, not 2, Jacob. Sorry. But I think it's a receiving touchdown for Jamal Williams. I think A.J. Dillon scores his first career touchdown. They're finally going to have the kahunas, the nuts to give him the ball at the goal line. I think the Packers will be on the goal line. A.J. Dillon will be the one to bust it in, and they'll finally come to their senses on that. So 31-17, my final. I think Green Bay wins. We'll see what happens. Jacob, give me your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Listen, it's a tough one. I understand the players are injured and that part sucks, but ultimately, like I said, this team has more than enough guys, more than enough capability. This isn't, and I'm not somebody who, I don't have a better phrase for this, craps on Mike McCarthy every time that I get an opportunity. I'm appreciative of him. I think he was a good coach in Green Bay for the time that he was here. That being said, this is not Mike McCarthy's Packers where it literally is one player is out and the entire offense could tank. This Packers team has found ways all year long to do different things. This Texans team has some weapons. So did the Falcons. And so did some other teams they've played against. And I think that there are some people that just look for reasons for this Packers team to not be good because it confirms their prior thoughts about this team. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. I don't know how you enjoy watching football by watching it that way. I'm a fan first and foremost, and I'll give you an objective point of view, obviously, and objectively, I think this Packers team is better than this Texans team, even if they don't have those guys. Now, is it possible that Rick Wagner or whoever plays left tackle lays a stink bomb and J.J. Watt and this Texans pass rush ruins the game? Absolutely. But I think Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are smart enough to know David Bakhtiari is not playing left tackle, and they can't play the game the same way. Someone at the game just said Billy Turner is playing left tackle. So there you go.
Okay.
That would be interesting. So I wonder if it would be like Turner, Jenkins, Lindsley, Patrick, Wagner is what I'm guessing the way that would work. Billy Turner does have some experience at left tackle. So maybe that's their thought process there. Again, it's not a great option, but there aren't.
There isn't.
When you don't have David Bakhtiari, it's a downgrade no matter who they throw out there. You're just hoping that Turner doesn't allow the game to get ruined. So whether it was Turner or Wagner or Jenkins or Yash Nijman or John Runyon, whoever it was,
let's just hope they hold their own, man.
Just hope you hold your own enough. Yeah. So protect Rodgers, run the ball, pound the rock, get out of Houston with a win, and get ready for a white flag waving Minnesota Vikings team next Sunday at Lambeau Field.
Oh, I can't wait for that because that's even no matter what happens today, they're going to go back to Lambeau next week and just kick the snot out of the Vikings.
You very
much. Oh, not even hope. I know. Very much looking forward to that. That's Jacob. I am Alex. You can catch me back here on the post route here on Game On Wisconsin after the game, taking your phone calls and breaking down, whatever it is we witness. And you know who's going to take us home today, Jacob? It's our buddy, number 30. He's going to bring us home.